Do you ever wonder how soldiers are capable of killing other soldiers? Or how something as horrific as the Holocaust actually happened? It's easy to assume that every soldier in history was heartless and cruel. But the truth is much more uncomfortable. They were conditioned, and you might be too. In the modern era, war is rarely about survival or immediate protection. It is driven by the greed of those at the top. In older ages, being a soldier was often just a job. If a mercenary was offered more money by the enemy, they might simply switch sides. Back then, war was a game played by kings that rarely touched the average citizen. Today, war consumes everyone. It requires the labor of masses, the redirection of all funds, and often the bombardment of civilian homes. War is no longer just because of greed of countries. It is about an incredible selfishness toward every human life involved. But in the end, it's the soldiers doing the dirty work, not the politicians who decide the war. So what makes it possible for a person who would never hurt a fly in civilian life to pick up a rifle and kill? Let's take a look at the Nazis in Germany. Back then, when Hitler was attempting to get into politics, the Big Depression happened. So many Germans lost their homes, savings, and jobs. Of course, it wasn't necessarily their fault, but they still got affected. Then Hitler came, and in his campaign he promised everyone food and a job. And so he won the elections. After he won, he started dictating a war, and it's likely most of the Germans would never go into such war if they weren't brainwashed by his propaganda without even knowing. And I can see you thinking behind the screen, I could never get manipulated like that. But first, let's take a look at today's sponsors. Let's look at OraMind. We all want to stay sharp, and OraMind's latest clinical trial results are finally out. They reported a 90% success rate in users maintaining peak focus during high-stress tasks. If you want to be part of that successful 90%, check the link in the description. Now, I want to tell you about a different product. It's called NeuroShield. In their recent clinical trials, 1 out of every 10 people suffered a total cognitive collapse, unable to focus for more than 5 minutes after the trial ended. 10% of the people who trusted this product walked away worse than they started. Would you buy OraMind over NeuroShield? I believe you would. But here's the truth. Both products are made up, and their results are mathematically identical. A 90% success rate is the exact same thing as 10% failure rate. This is what psychologists call the framing effect. By focusing on the positive 90%, I swayed your perception. You were manipulated by the way I presented the data, just like the citizens of 1930s Germany were manipulated by the way Hitler represented their reality. He used the framing effect to give them a scapegoat. He blamed minorities of all Germany's misfortune. He relied on the fundamental attribution error. This is a psychological bias where we see our own mistakes as being caused by bad luck or the situation, but we see the mistakes of others as a result of their bad character. Hitler convinced the public that their suffering was a situation caused by the bad character of others. Eventually, through constant propaganda, the citizens stopped seeing minorities as humans. They saw them as animals or villains. This process of dehumanization makes the moral part of their brain go quiet. They believed they weren't committing crimes. They believed they were cleaning up their country. You might think the script of history makes no sense, but people believe it because someone trustworthy or in a uniform says it. This was proven by the Milgram Experiment, which showed that a majority of people will deliver what they believe are lethal electric shocks to a stranger simply because an authority figure in a lab coat told them to. In the army, this is called the diffusion of responsibility. The soldier feels that the person giving the order carries the moral weight while they are just a tool. Modern armies are no longer built on jobs. They are built on pride and Pavlovian conditioning. Soldiers train on human-shaped targets that fall when hit. As noted in Dave Grossman's study in Killology, this turns killing into muscle memory and reflex rather than a conscious choice. Studies show that the strongest reason a soldier bypasses their moral isn't hatred, it's the protection of their comrades. They kill to keep their brothers alive. Furthermore, technology, drones, and long-range bombs make it even easier. The further you are from the enemy, the less human they feel. The closer you get, the harder it is to pull the trigger, because suddenly the enemy feels far too much like you. It is terrifyingly easy to become a victim of these psychological traps. We aren't as unhackable as we like to think.